What's going on, everybody? The Arid Lord is back with, not another Walking Dead vlog. I had to catch myself there. This is actually a series of Game of Thrones vlogs. And I debated doing this for a little bit. These were videos that I had once had as reaction videos on this channel. For half of Season 6 and all of Season 7, I did reaction videos for Game of Thrones. I have considered it, but for 2 of the episodes, I'm going to be away. And then there's, 4, 5, and 6. So I'd only be able to really do reactions for 4 out of the 6. And also, my channel is more Game of Thrones... it's more Walking Dead focused than it is Game of Thrones focused. I do theories, predictions, everything for The Walking Dead. And all my hardcore fans, you guys who are watching, you guys watch for The Walking Dead. And I know in general this video won't get as much attention as The Walking Dead stuff because most of my channel is centered around that stuff. But I'm writing this series out. I started watching Game of Thrones in 2015. So I've been watching, season 6, 7, and 8 were brand new to me. And I've read through the books as well. And it's very impressive. It's very impressive what George R.R. Martin, David and Dan, and the whole cast have done with this show. And I'm here to review episode 1, very similar to how I review Walking Dead episodes. And this is obviously a spoiler warning. If you haven't watched episode 1, then you would be best advised to steer clear. All right? So, this episode is entitled Winterfell. Nothing too fancy, just literally where everybody is grouped together. I don't know what else they would have really called this episode, because Winterfell, it's basically like the Holiday Inn at this point. Everybody, and Sansa makes this point, which is a good point when considering just how many people are there. They have all of the Dothraki, thousands of those horse riders. Then you got the Unsullied, all those foot soldiers. And then you've got all of the Northmen. And then you've got our main cast of characters who are all at Winterfell. And then you see that the Dothraki and some of the other men have actually camped outside Winterfell. And not only that, you got the houses of the other realms. Lord Royce is there from the Vale. So you have to imagine the Vale. The Vale's been there since the end of season 6 when Peter Baelish showed up and defeated Ramsay Bolton. So the Vale is there. Obviously House Royce, Lord Royce got some airtime. He was kind of the in-between when Sansa and Tyrion were talking, and then he walked away. So you have everyone from the Vale, most if not all of the northern houses. Some of them like Lord Glover, Umber, Karstark made it. Apparently House Karstark made it because they took time to show the flags, and Sir Davos actually makes the comment, the sun is better than the onion, or someone made a joke, I forget, I think it was between Tyrion, Varys, and Davos. They noted that they're like, the Karstark banner is not that bad. And then they were talking about how Jon Snow brought all those northern houses together, how the Karstarks actually betrayed the Starks, as we know, during the events of the Red Wedding. They were defeated. They actually sided with Ramsay. That pedophile Karstark guy actually sided with Ramsay during the Battle of the Bastards. And then he died off screen. We didn't see him die. We only saw Lord Umber, Small John Umber. Tormund ripped his throat out and his teeth, Rick Grimes style. I actually make a Walking Dead reference, kind of like how Rick did to Joe, the Claimers. Tormund did it to Small John, and we saw him die. But the Karstark guy that was in that meeting with Ramsay, we didn't see him die, but later on it was confirmed that he did die, that Jon says that he died on the field of battle. So that's why that girl, Alice Karstark, is the next in line, and then that little kid, Ned Umber, was the little kid. Now, we'll get to him later, because some creepy shit, of all ways to kill off a character, they went down to some creepy horror shit in terms of Ned Umber's character. But Yeah, so the Karstarks apparently make it. And so you got all the northern houses, I guess, except House Glover, which that guy is such a stubborn guy. He didn't join Jon's forces when they were asking for his support. Then they won Winterfell, and then he's like, oh, I was wrong. And then because Jon is shacking up with Daenerys and pledged his support to Daenerys, Glover just decides to leave and go back to his fort to basically be killed by the White Walkers, as is what happens with Umber. I guess the Umbers just weren't fast enough. Ned Umber went back to get the last they saw, because he was given a command by Lady Stark, like, go back to your castle, which is Last Hearth, and gather your soldiers and bring them back to Winterfell. And he went there, and he never came back. And we find out what happens to him towards the end of the episode. So most of this episode was just reunions. Like, there's not too much. I mean, you get the big reunions. Let me just list them off. You got Sansa and Tyrion. I mean, they hadn't seen each other since Joffrey's wedding, which Tyrion makes apparent. You had Jon and Arya, which was my favorite. I love the dynamic between those two characters. They both respected each other a lot. And I think because Jon was an outcast because he was adopted, a bastard, and no one accepted him as a Stark. And Arya she's always been a kind of a tomboy who's she's wanted to take on these male roles. And Jon always supported that. So these were two characters that were outcasted within their own home in many ways, even though Ned Stark was a very protective and wise parent, they still felt these things. And I mean, especially Arya living in the shadow of Sansa, always being the pretty princess. Jon Snow living in the shadow of Robb Stark, who was the eldest Stark, the one who was going to carry the Stark legacy. And Jon was just this guy who was kind of just putzing around, the bastard. So I love that. And they haven't seen each other since season 1, when Jon gave Needle that little sword that Arya has, and they left. And then Arya went to King's Landing, got separated, her whole journey when she learned to be a faceless man, and then obviously Jon went to the Night's Watch, and his whole story unfolded. And they were totally separated. They were as far away from each other. You know, Braavos and the Night's Watch on the Wall, they were the farthest apart of probably any of the characters. And it's just cool. Like, it's crazy how, like, they haven't had any screen time together, because usually time with one character meant you wouldn't have time with the other character. For a long time, that statement was true of Daenerys and Jon, because they're kind of like dual main characters. So in past, like, you'd see Daenerys' story in Essos, and then you'd see Jon at the Night's Watch, and then later on in Winterfell with the North kind of taking on Robb Stark's old role. But yeah, I really like that reunion. I love they had this very big, strong embrace. He lifts her up, and you could see it in their faces. And I liked in the behind the scenes, David and Dan said, like, they wanted the actors to just breathe instead of talking a lot. Like, it's the facial expressions. Like, they're such good actors, you get the facial expressions, how they just look at each other like, oh my gosh, we've been through so much shit, and at the end of the day, here we are back at our home, grown-ups, hardened warriors, strong fighters. We have, they have weapons to show. Like, it kind of makes Arya jealous, showing the Valyrian steel longclaw. Arya's obviously got Peter Baelish's freaking little knife that he used to start the whole conflict. And then, of course, she still has Needle, which was cool. That I like that Jon's like, have you had to use it? And she's like, yeah, once or twice. Maybe, just casually have had to use it. So that was a cool reunion. And then we had Arya it was kind of a duel. It was like a 1-2 punch. You had Arya with the Hound, and then at the same time, Gendry was there because they were making weapons out of the dragon glass. I did like that shot where you had the wagon full of dragon glass that was roaming through Winterfell, like, to establish that, like, they are ready for the conflict. Like, the White Walkers are coming, but they have weapons to deal with these monsters. So that way, the thing is, I don't know the lore behind this. You'll have to remind me. The White Walkers, their spears, like normal steel, they can turn it to glass and shatter it. but Valyrian steel, they cannot shatter it. That's why in that fight scene between Jon Snow and that White Walker, the White Walker's shocked when he tries to break Jon's sword, but the Valyrian steel magic overrides it, and then Jon takes him by surprise and kills him. And the Night King sees it. This is during the Hardhome battle. So, but do the dragon glass weapons work the same, or maybe they just have the power to kill the White Walkers like Sam did seasons back, but they can't actually deflect the weapons. So we'll have to see how that plays out in the battlefield. I mean, there's a lot of Valyrian steel weapons to go around. I mean, Jaime has his now that he's in Winterfell. You have Heart's Bane, which is the House Tarly sword that Sam makes reference to. I don't know who's going to wield that. I mean, Sam's not much of a fighter. Maybe he'll give it to Jorah. I mean, Jorah gave his house sword to Jon because, you know, all that happened with that. Yeah, I will. You know, who's going to wield Heart's Bane, and then Brianna Tarth has the other half of the ice sword, so she also has a Valyrian steel weapon, and then Arya, her knife is Valyrian steel. So there's a bunch of fighters who have Valyrian steel weapons. So at any moment, a White Walker won't, I guess, pose as much of a threat. It's pretty much just going to be numbers. You know, how many numbers of White Walkers are going to descend upon our characters, and is that freaking ice dragon going to show up? Because so far, like, where has it gone is the question. Where'd it go? Where did the freaking Viserion ice dragon go? Because we know the White Walkers go to Last Hearth. They kill everybody there, and there's no corpses, which is duh, because they reanimated them, and all of the Last Hearth soldiers are now reanimated soldiers in the army of the dead. And then this is the creepy scene I was referring to. Ned Umber is impaled on the wall, and the White Walker, in that mysterious insignia, we don't know what it means, but that mysterious insignia is plastered on the wall using the limbs of other people. And Tormund, Beric Dondarrion, and Ed from Castle Black, they're all talking like, you know, we got to get on horses and get down to Winterfell. And then all of a sudden the kid, like, he's screaming this demonic scream on the wall, and then Beric Dondarrion takes his flaming sword, sticks it in the kid. Kid goes up in flame. Like, it was like, I was just watching this character normally speaking on screen, talking to Sansa, and now he's burning alive, screaming like a wraith from like the Revenant or something. Like, it was just really creepy. Like, top 10 creepiest moments of The Walking Dead. Game of Thrones. Sorry, my brain is so Walking Dead wired. But yeah, wow, like, could that be the creepiest moment of the series? I want to ask you guys that. Could that be the creepiest moment of Game of Thrones? I'm trying to think, are there any other creepy moments that could kind of... I know there, like, the mystique of the White Walkers, you could argue that, especially the very first scene of the series when we see the White Walkers kill those Night's Watch guys. But yeah, that's crazy. That's like just... That scene just caught me off guard, and it really builds, because we don't see the army of the White Walkers or the Night King in this episode. We just see an empty castle and the reanimated corpse of a young boy impaled on the wall. Like, I almost feel like it's scarier. Like, it builds the suspense and it builds the creepiness even more. The fact that we don't see the White Walker army. Like, we saw the ginormous army at the end of season 7 go through the wall, but not seeing it at all in this episode when we know it's out there. They're lurking in the north. The wall is down. They're lurking somewhere. The Night King's flying somewhere. He could be anywhere in the world. I mean, he literally has a two-way, one-way plane ticket to any destination. He could go to Bravos, Essos. He could fly right to King's Landing. He can go wherever the frick he wants, all right? He's literally got the ultimate weapon in the Game of Thrones universe. And I don't know how they're going to stop that. I do think they foreshadowed it a little bit. Jon riding the dragon that's named after his dad, Rhaegal. I bet you, I'm hoping there's a 3-way dragon fight, like Daenerys and Jon. on that they're riding Drogon and Rhaegal, and they have to take on the undead Viserion that the Night King is on. I really hope that we get a 3-way dragon battle, like just literally like World War II airplanes flying at each other and they're shooting fire. I know it would be a CGI nightmare for whoever's producing that episode. But I mean, all the episodes are done, but just, I saw all the behind the scenes of what they had to do just to show that scene of Jon riding on the dragon going up and down. It's literally like riding a mechanical bull. It's pretty funny. Good episode overall. It was slow. Like, I did talk to some people about it. I have a lot of friends who watch this show, and they were like, yeah, it was good. Like the reunions, it was a little bit of a slow episode. Sansa's not as trusting as like, we're getting some of the same themes from last season, because I felt like they dealt with this a lot last season, where it's like, okay, we get it. The Northerners are stubborn oxes. They don't like the fact that Jon is giving up his northern title to this foreigner who's like just this weirdo girl who brought in all these savages and has 2 flying ginormous dragons. And it's, nobody knows really what to think. And we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see what happens with that. I just think that for this episode, I mean, it's good to establish and re-anchor yourself. You don't want to go into any episode pushing the action. You don't want to go into episode 1 and be like, all right, the Battle of Winterfell, and then the Golden Company, and then like things coming out of, oh my gosh, 15 directions. We did get to see the Golden Company. I thought it was funny that Cersei was angry that there were no elephants. And I was actually angry as a viewer too. Like, why are there no elephants? Like, she name dropped that at the end of season 7 when she was talking to Jaime, and then there are no elephants. And it's like, but logistically, my friend was saying this to me. There's no way an elephant would be able to endure sea travel. I mean, you're going across an ocean. I mean, it's basically like the Atlantic Ocean. There's no way an elephant would survive that shit. I was surprised that Euron got with Cersei. She originally shooed him off, and then he was like, no, like, I've supplied you with a navy. I brought you this ginormous army of mercenaries. I am owed what I'm owed. And he actually fucking slept with her. And I like it because he's just not afraid. He's just like literally, he's got a lot of Negan in him. As, you know, Walking Dead, Game of Thrones crossover, he's got a lot of Negan, like that cocky swagger. No matter how steep the odds look, he's always kind of just laughing and chuckling and leaning back. So, but I mean, that was kind of a little bit of his undoing, because he wasn't around. He wasn't around to see Yara freed. Theon was able to jump aboard the boat and free her, which have they written her character off the show? I want to know, because she's going back to the Iron Islands, and Theon's like, no, Winterfell's my home, I gotta go help them. And it's like, but why? Like, Yara's been a part of this plot for a long time. Why wouldn't she go with Theon and help fight? Like, they all have a common enemy. Like, this should be everyone fighting together trying to eliminate the White Walkers. Like, what the... And again, like, you know, well, actually, what if, here's a prediction, what if Yara goes back to the Iron Islands and she looks up and she sees the Night King. The Night King's got a bunch of White Walkers and those undead skeletons on the back of Viserion. And then Viserion, like, literally does, like, an airdrop, like helicopter SWAT guys onto the islands and infects the island with the undead so that they can travel, because they can't swim, as John pointed out, so they can go by air. And what if the Night King is trying to take territory that his army can't reach? So by using the dragon, he could maybe go to that would be a cool scene if he went to the Iron Islands. They were like, oh, we're safe. You know, the White Walkers are never going to get us on the Iron Islands. And then all of a sudden you see this dragon like, oh shit, all right, we're screwed. So, yeah, I mean, literally the whole world is in danger. Before it was just Westeros that was in danger from the White Walkers. Like, if no one did anything, yeah, all of Westeros would technically be in trouble from the White Walkers. But Essos would be fine. The Iron Islands would be fine because they can't swim, and the Night King has not shown that power of any kind. So as long as he doesn't kill any dragons, then he can't get anywhere else. But now that he has one, he can literally go anywhere in the world. So everyone's in danger. Everyone's in danger. So we'll see. I'm interested. I don't know where the Night King is. I really want to know where he is, though. Is he going to be at the helm of the Battle of Winterfell, or is he going to be somewhere else? Where is this guy? Where is this guy? And what do you think his end game is? Like, does he have a plan? Does he have a plan other than just killing everybody? Other than just killing everybody and turning them into undead soldiers, does the Night King have a bigger plan? I've heard theories like maybe it's Bran and all sorts of stuff. I don't believe any of it. I know like people have thought with time travel maybe, but I still think there's something else going on here we're not seeing. So let me know what you guys think. Overall, give this episode a 9. Pretty good episode. Again, like I'll forgive the slow introductory pace. I mean, we did have the rescue of Yara, which happened quick. I thought they dragged that out for a few episodes, but considering we only have 6, I mean that's a whole nother issue. I wish there was 10 episodes because it's gonna be like season 7 where people felt like things were rushed. It's like, all right, here's 6 episodes, all right, it's done. I know some of those are longer, but not all of them are. I mean, this episode was 54 minutes, so not even an hour in length. But yeah, that's it for me, guys. Let me know what you think. Again, there's a lot of crossover between Walking Dead and Game of Thrones. They're both drama television shows. They've been airing side by side for years, and at one point they were keeping pace. Like, Walking Dead would release its 6th season, Game of Thrones would release its 6th season. And they would do that, like Walking Dead 6th season, Game of Thrones 7. Like they would until Game of Thrones took that big break from 7 to 8, then The Walking Dead just kind of sped ahead. And Game of Thrones is obviously ending on season 8, and The Walking Dead is going into its 10th season. But the shows are different. They have different end games. They have different goals. So I'm not going to get into that. Maybe that'll be a cool video to do at some point, comparing The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones. That would be very cool, because they're basically the 2 biggest drama television shows that are on right now. So that'd be pretty cool to do. So, all right. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll do an episode 2 review next week, probably at this time. And stay tuned for all my other fans for more Walking Dead content. It will be coming, I promise. I already have some videos that I've already made that I will be uploading, some big ones. So stay tuned. All right. Thank you guys. See you later.